Hola! I wish to tell you why it's a good morning. Sky is blue, kinda, but for sure above the clouds. Trees are just eating up all that CO2. Amen. My water is clean. How's yours? And how are our native cousins? So, as this election goes on, I see this election as a tipping point for the whole nation. I mean, you look back in the past, and basically, you know, we've all taken for granted that, you know, there's certain rules, certain mandates for government agencies and such in place, so they act properly. And over the years, there's been a manipulation of this and a manipulation of that, and you know, then we have one branch of our government, the judiciary, and the courts, and so they've been allowing, oh, it's unconstitutional, but we'll allow it, and so this is how it snuck up on us so fast to the doorway, the threshold to the doorway of tyranny and dictatorship. Now, if I may, I would like to elaborate a little bit, like just even on this law. Like, okay, so we got this David Johnstone fella, okay, this man who used to act as the you know, the Queen's extension of the Queen, Governor General, who is now a trustee of the Trudeau Trust Fund, involved in Rideau Hall, but he is also acting as the commissioner, is it, of Elections Canada. So right now, as we speak, he's putting through a law. I believe it's under the man-child I address as Justin, under his dictatorship, his authority. Authority and dictatorship are the same thing. Under his dictatorship, that, well, that citizens won't be able to talk about the government before, during, or after an election. Otherwise, citizens are going to be fined and brought to somebody's justice. It certainly is not the justice of the people. If these characters, these actors, these bad actors, if they weren't up to, you know, wrong and wrongdoing over the people, then why do they have to pass such bad laws to attack you and I? And as I've said in the past, a citizen is a person. A citizen is afforded certain rights. Okay, you don't have these rights by nature. A citizen is the creation of the corporate body. Now, every man and woman from this land has a right to partake as a citizen within an election, if they wish, because it's a benefit that was given to us because we're of this land. Right? And so anyone of this nation, whether you're born or not, if you're of this nation, right, as part of mankind, there's certain benefits that you may receive from the corporate body politic, and I call that the Canadian government, and not the government of Canada. And these are two different aspects. So anyways, getting back to it, so here we are. I just talked to my brother. Okay, it's my day off, And so I run up to his place to get a cement mixer, borrow a couple things. That's what family does. And so he's just overloaded. He's just overloaded and doesn't know what to do. And so his only answer is no politics, and he's going to vote, but no politics and no promises made. I did bet him. I bet him a six-pack that as much as I love to see Bernier become the next prime servant, or prime minister as you call it, I bet him that Scheer gets in and Bernier is the official opposition. Now, he doesn't believe me because everybody seems to be talking about the polls. But honestly, how can anybody with common sense, which isn't so common anymore, obviously, but how can anybody with any common sense, self-respect, or decency vote for the man-child that I address as Justin? How? He's taken over the media. He's propagandizing CO2 with climate change and global warming in the opposite fashion that things actually work. He's outlawing free speech as we speak, and now he's about to outlaw you and I, or any citizen, from talking about politicians. Or political agendas before, during, or after an election? Who the fuck do you people think you are? That gets back to my question. Look at my last video. Sociopath or psychopath? Or maybe it's psychopath, sociopath, or none of the above. Or maybe it's both. Maybe I should have put that on there. But let's take the three. You can vote both. I'll count it. I'll count it. If you say psychopath and sociopath, I'll count it. Because a double-minded man, a double-minded man, I guess, could be both, eh? I'm not adding schizophrenia in on it. So, yeah, I mean, does it not cause for great concern to anyone here about all these bad laws? Are we so far down the pike now that we can reason away common sense and reason away basic freedoms and reason away free speech and freedom? Like, honestly, the Pope's got an agenda now. He wants all the leaders of the world to meet at his place on March or May 20th next year, 2020. And, to talk to the leaders about indoctrinating the kids about climate change. I guess if they can't bring, if the establishment can't bring a proper thesis basically to the table and discuss things as an adult would, I guess it's just better doing like the fascists do and hitting all our children with this crap. So there are children, this is why I say sociopath or psychopath, because nobody cares about our children except for ourselves. Nobody cares about our kids except for us. And those of us who allow the state, the province, the Crown Corporation that run the schools through public funding, maybe we don't care about our kids either. Because if we did care about our kids, why wasn't there protests and complete upset right away the minute that Ontario Premier come out and said that, we are co-parents? Really? Now, I see what she's talking about. She's talking about, hey, you know, your kids are all part of the corporate body politic, and we're from the parent company, and so therefore we are co-parents. These are all legal terms, guys. And so they're talking to you from a corporate entity and a corporate fashion and a corporate standing, and none of these folks are talking to you from a public servant's standing. All right. From where a man or a woman who acts as a public servant should stand. You know, they have a duty and obligation. Okay, the establishment has a duty and obligation to protect property. Okay, that'd be the government of Canada, to protect people's property. We owe no duty to the government of Canada except for the protection of our property. Let that sink in for a minute. Now, as far as Canadian government, okay, the corporate body politic, the only time we owe a duty to them is if we hold an office within the corporate body. Now, even though you have received certain benefits to hold certain offices or titles within the corporate body, there is no law that enslaves you or puts any man or enslaves mankind or puts anyone into forced servitude to act as a person of the corporate body. This is a common law land. We have the right to choose. We have the right. It's our inherent right to freedom of speech. So freedom of speech was not granted to mankind within this nation from the government of Canada or the corporate body politic. Okay? Freedom of expression is their mandate that they have to recognize. Now, if any law is created that steps out of the mandate, which is considered the supreme law of Canada, now you're operating on your own liability as a man or a woman. You are out of the Crown immunity spectrum. So, well, we have another branch of government, and it's called the judiciary. Okay, the courts. A lot of Canadians don't understand that that's a branch of our government. So therefore, they are there, number one, to serve the public, and number two, to work out any corporate body problems that people are having within the legal society. Because you and I don't stand as mankind and hold our fellow man or woman to account when they step out of their mandate and cause harm, injury, or loss to their fellow man, so-called using their title and stepping out of their mandate to do it, then that is why the courts are now, because they are a branch of our government, are now just attacking those of us who wish to stand as a man or a woman. And you're being profiled now. So we're profiled by the chief public servant, the prime servant. You know, the man-child I address as Justin. And then we're being profiled by the judiciary now. We're being profiled by every ministry that serves folks. We're being profiled by all these private and public societies and organs. Who the hell do they think they are? And you're trying to tell me there's no emergency? Like I say, my brother, he just doesn't want to see it, and he's having a mental shutdown on the whole thing. You know, it's... Hey man, maybe you just can't, you know, we're not all the same. Like, every one of us is unique. You know, we are the same. We're all of mankind. And we all have a a government that does act as public servants. And we are all unique. And our uniqueness does not give us a right to cause harm, loss, or injury to our fellow man. So this law that Trudeau's passing as we speak would entitle a certain part of the corporate body, which would be Elections Canada, to come after you for your freedom of expression about policies and ideas and so on and so forth. Why don't we just dump the elections? Why don't you just declare yourself king? You can have King 1, King 2, King 3, and King 4. No? Why not just declare yourself king? If something happens to you, you can go to King 2, you know? I thought it was funny that the man-child I address as Justin refused to acknowledge the people's choice for, I think it's President of Venezuela, and sent the dictator a bunch of our money. Your money. Your fucking money. Oh. So yeah, I just wanted to bring, I saw this with I knew this was coming down the pike, this law. I knew they were going to pass some kind of law or legislation of some sort to shut the general public up. You know, put them in more fear. Don't let them stand. Put everybody in fear, just like Greta. You know, we want to be in Greta's fear, but not of the environment, of our public service, to the point where nobody can say anything. Then they can just dance around and enjoy heavy and great lifting and living. I mean, we'll do all the lifting, and they'll benefit from all our hard labor. That's what's going on here. All right, and you say, well, we have ministry for that. We have this for that. And we have that for that. We have, pretty soon they'll be going after folks like my son, who is blind and autistic. Well, he's a burden on society. He's full of CO2. There's no sense in having him around. Well, we're not going to kill him. Well, what we're going to do is euthanize him. Why should society have to burden with the disabled, right? Just like Hitler. We're at that point now, folks. That's where we're at. You love that stuff? Vote Liberal. We need laws by the people, of the people, for the people. We need, if we can't do it this way, I see no choice but to get into separation from this monster. Frankenstein, we created this. We allowed it to be created. It was created by mankind. And so it's our fault that this creation has gone awry, man. So yeah, just go ahead and vote Liberal. Keep your head in the sand. Everybody knows when the socialists take over, the first ones to go are the ones who supported it, because they can't trust their own. So they get rid of all the ones they don't trust. And as time goes on, if guys, study the Soviet Union. Study Romania. Study these Eastern European countries. And what happened? It's crazy. It's crazy that we're going to allow this to happen here now. And I believe this election here and now is a tipping point. If a man or a woman cannot hold a competent court of jurisdiction, a court of record, trial by jury, that only falls under the common law, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal, then we don't have a government of the people, period. End of story. If that is gone, if the establishment is so untouchable now that we can just be smirched, our good names could be smirched in public and lambasted in public as an excuse to cause harm, loss, or injury to for the corporate body to do this to our fellow man, we are now lost. Is society now sociopathic? I think that's the word. Is society gone that way now? Well, we only care about our own and those we've bonded with, but who gives a shit about our neighbors? Is that where we're at now? This is not a normal election, man. We got Scheer going to sell us slowly, so he's going to penetrate slowly so it doesn't hurt so much. We have Trudeau, it's just pounding on us. Singh, you know, this is my expressed opinion. If you know, and his heritage is also part of the common law, okay? India is also a common law nation, and I do respect Sikhs, the Sikh community, just from what I understand of them as a society, as a Sikh society. They are very hardworking folks, and they were the only ones, you know, that stood up. That's why they're a warrior religion, guys. And they were the only ones to stand up against tyranny within you know, the nation of origin to which Singh's family comes from. And so, yeah, I do hold some respect for those folks. But if Singh, you know, we have an articulate man here that actually, if he was fighting for freedom, instead of just playing the regular sellout, I'd actually consider voting for the dude. Oh, sorry, Singh, voting for the man. I think he could be, but you know what? If he was to try and actually stand up proper for the people, for this nation, I believe that his own people would throw him under the bus. So to keep his really nice salary and his expense account, I guess he's only allowed to push it so far, right? Which isn't very far, because He's promising to give more of our hard-earned money, you know, the stuff that we consider, you know, legal tender or whatever, that to pay our outrageous power bills and necessities of life here that are being taxed unlawfully and illegally. I don't know how they ever weaseled in tax on our necessities, but they did. And I'm sure they had a great and grand reason for it, and now they want to tax you for life, just to live, like they own you. You are now chattel. You are in servitude, and you are in some kind of new slavery. And once they got a taste of that, folks, yeah, they're not going to let go of that slavery. Hey, the servants are ruling the roost. And they'll just bury the bodies of their masters, which is the people of this land, the nation. They'll just bury the individual bodies that stand up. And this is what's happened in the past, and this is what's going to happen in the future, as far as I can see. And it's just going to be history repeating itself all over again. As a nation, we need safety checks that the public servants cannot cause harm, loss, or injury to anyone on this land. Now, I knew the agenda was at 2030, UN Agenda 2030. They wish to come after 30% of all our lands that adjoin freshwater and saltwater. And so I just saw Trudeau put out his thing that they're going to secure 25% of the country, of this nation's land, and you know they're doing it for the UN agenda. So you will be kicked off. You will not be able to enjoy it. It'll be interesting. They're acting like they own it. Everything's supposed to be in the public good because it's public land. And they will be going after private land too, as well. Now, like I've said in the past, you know, they're all using the word lands. And it's funny how, you know, because the Queen and the land are one and the people are land in one. The Queen serves the people at her leisure, at her pleasure. You can't own land in this country, okay, within this nation, because the people are the land, and that is slavery. What we have is you have the right. Okay, you have the right to property. Everybody has the right to property. Now, our native cousins, you know, they can call it native land. That's their business. Maybe that's just part of the culture or whatever. But I see that as their property myself, because it would be proper to see it as property. If you have a mortgage on a piece of property, then it's not property because it's not exclusive to you. Okay, it's now real estate, right? And like I say, the reason that we're put into lots, okay, as well as addresses, is because the lots are actually go into the public store. The municipality is the first owner. They're giving you basically as tenants certain rights as owner that they can also take away. So you're being granted. Okay, you can do all the work, you can make all the payments, you can occupy this parcel of property, but it is part of the municipality public store. It's not your property, and it's definitely real estate if you have a mortgage on it, so really you don't have any kind of ownership whatsoever. And actually, who really owns anything anyways? Ownership is basically a liability. It's a heavy burden to carry. But who actually owns? What are you going to take with you 2 seconds after you're dead? We as mankind, we die every second of every day. Shit happens. Right? What are you taking with you? Now, what are you leaving behind? Are we leaving our children, okay, our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren into servitude of a spoilt, elite 1% corporate body? Or are we standing, or wish to stand, or do stand, as mankind and say, no, we have put a halt to this. No. Which is it? What do you want to leave your kids? A huge debt where they have no rights and everything is just a privilege granted to them by what is a public service? Granted to them by their overlords because they're only seen as a person, can't be seen as a man or a woman anymore? Because mankind has been outlawed on this land? Anyways, this election law, I think everybody should write a letter to that John Stone fella. Everybody should write a letter to the news station saying, you don't attack, we're not putting up with being attacked. Like, what they'll do is they'll come out with the law, and then everybody will be taken off of YouTube and all the social media stuff, okay? And so only one voice will be heard, and that will be the voice of dictatorship. It's up to you, man. Oh, one more thing. So, it's funny. I saw that Andrew dude, Andrew from True North Media, or True North News, whatever. And he was standing there, he was trying to talk to Justin, and I couldn't believe the spoilt way Justin just walked past. You know, really, you know, how is it, like, Justin, man, how is it going to harm anyone if you stop and talk to our free press. Okay? Put your propaganda media paid for stuff aside.